This is negative painting, so what you'll need is, of course, your watercolors. And if everybody could mute so that we can not have feedback on the thing, that would be awesome. There we go. I just want to make sure everybody's okay. Great. So what you need are your watercolor papers. Now I'm going to go small on the small side. I've got, this is a 6x8. If you have 5x7, this was a 5x7. The reason I like small is this is going to take a little, it's kind of detailed. It takes time. So I want us to be able to finish one hopefully in the hour. So that's why a smaller piece of paper is good. If you want to do leaves, I think this is my first one. This was the simplest one, but I also found circles was another option, which would look like little galaxies or something. That's an option. Or these are a little more detailed and they take a little more time, but you can do them. It's all the same exact technique, the same process, and I'll explain them to you. You'll need also, if you have a heat gun or a hair dryer right here, I would get one right now, just to heat, even a hair dryer or a heat gun, because you're going to need to dry between the layers while we're working together. So get something like that out to dry your layers. And what I have is, I just have my paints, my favorite paints. Try to stay on your transparent, try to use transparent paints if possible, because actually that'll be they'll just look better when they're transparent. You could use stencils to make your leaf shapes. This one I was showing earlier, this one is from this stencil. That's basically, you can kind of see, I kind of drew them a little off, differently than the stencil, but it was a nice jumping off point, especially for the other layers. And I'll explain the process. So I'm going to do, instead of a stencil, I'm just going to do it freehand. With a simple, all you need is a little light pencil. I also like to have a white charcoal pencil. It's not necessary, but it's nice to have. So I'm going to just mask off. You don't have to mask your paper off, but if you want to, mask off your paper, just so you can have some nice borders. And I'm just going to go here. Now, hopefully my mic doesn't cut out again. If it does, yeah, just let me know. Okay. Technical stuff. It's amazing that it even works at all, it's crazy. I'm just going to do this. I'm not really trying to tape it to the board, but and today, for some reason, my earlier paintings, this particular paper, the tape, washi tape didn't stick. So I'm using a masking tape, which can be a lot stickier than the washi tape. I'm just putting that on. Now I've got I've figured it out. Now this is just a freehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start making a little leaf shape, and I'm going to do it with my very light pencil. You don't want to go dark, and I'm hoping you can see these lines, but I'm going to just start like a leaf shape, and I'm going to go big and bold today, just so that there's my one leaf. If you can't see it, I'll try to close it. What I could do is zoom in so you can see it, but you can kind of see it's just a leaf shape, and it's kind of bold. And I'm going to do a second leaf shape here, a little bit like this, just kind of a bold leaf. So there's two leaves here. They're not very big. I'm going to do another one. Let's see, one more. Maybe I'm just going to do that. This is you, but if you want to add more leaves, and I'm just going to erase something I saw. I don't know what that is. Some artifact of something. You can do 3 leaves. You can do. I'll do a smaller leaf right here. Just right in here. I'll do, and I've got the little stem. And you can decide right now as you're drawing. So there we go. I'm just going to go like that. So I've got 3 leaves. And I can change the shape. Like this leaf, I'm not really liking the shape that much, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I've got 3 leaves, fairly large, with the leaf kind of going off the side. I hope you can see that. No, okay. So I'm going to do it on a piece of paper and show you what I did. Right here, I'm just going to do it in a pen so you can see it. So what I did on my watercolor paper, here it is I drew a leaf like this. Just like this, and then I drew the second one a little bit smaller, but not too much smaller. And then the third one I drew, but it's going off the side. So I've got 3 leaves, And here's my paper. There. So that's kind of, and you can have it go off, to the side of your, going off your page a little bit. But that's just a basic leaf shape. Okay, so now there it is. It's under there. And now what we need to do is we're going to mix a very light mixture. Now we have to decide, do we want to go fall colors or are we just going to go greens? I did fall colors with my oak leaves and I think they're fun, but I think we can do any color we want, but let's do something light on the first wash. On the first layer, we're going to do something kind of light. So I've got this watercolor here. It's pretty transparent. This is the M Graham watercolor. And I think I'm going to do a little light green. Just a little, and this is going to be a light wash. It's not just a wash, it's actually going to be kind of spattered and fun. And I probably add some yellow, so I'll mix up some yellow over here.
What brush, Karen?
I'm just using a good sized round brush because we're going to cover the whole page with a light color. So that's our first layer. Will be, we can do light greens. You can add a little yellow and orange if you want for the fall colors. But I'm just going to I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cover my whole page, the whole thing. I'm covering my drawing, but it is light, so I'm not going to lose my drawing. I'm just going to cover it. So I'm going to throw a little bit of orange in there just for fun. So it's going to be a light, fairly light. Let me put more green in there. There we go. And you're really just covering it. I could have wet it first, but I didn't. Just a nice light color. Let's see if I can add another green. Let's see, I'm going to mix a green because I don't have green in this particular set. Not a lot anyway. I'm going to mix a little bit of green right there. And we're just keeping it fairly light. And that's probably a little on the darker side, so I'm going to try to wash it out a little bit. Of course, watercolor does dry lighter, so I really shouldn't worry too much about it. I'm going to add a little more yellow. I'm just kind of moving it around on the page. And then if I want to, I could add little spatters of color, like maybe some orange spatters. That might be fun. So I'm just going to kind of spatter a little bit of, that's a lot of spatters, but that's fun. Why not? Leaves are spotted anyway. And I'm just going to let that do its thing. Now I'm going to let it dry. And since we're not going to wait around for our paint to dry, this is a good time to get our dryers out or our heat guns, whatever you've got, and dry that first layer. And your pencil drawing is underneath. So I'm going to hold mine up because I don't want to melt my table down. And I have my paper right now is actually really heavyweight. It's like a 300-pound paper I found under my bed when I was downsizing, as I've been downsizing this past month or so with this uncluttered course. And I found some treasures while I was going through all my stuff. I found this beautiful watercolor paper. So now I'm using it because I wasn't using it before. So see how much lighter that is drying. And you want this layer to be completely dry because our next step is we just want dry. Okay. I think that's dry enough for now. All right, next step. What we are going to do is we're going to paint around the shapes that we drew. We're not painting in the leaf shapes. We're going to paint around them in another layer. And it doesn't have to be much darker. It's just going to get darker every time we do a layer. So I'm going to do kind of a yellowish green, maybe with a slight, I'm going to use my round brush again because there's no detail here. So I'm going to kind of got my bigger brush. And if you have really a lot of details in your drawing, then of course you would want a smaller brush. So I'm just going to bring this over. There we go, like that, so you can see. So I'm going to I've got a little turquoise here. I'm going to mix with some yellow. And since we want our colors transparent, because we are layering and layering, and that's kind of what the magic of this whole technique are the layers. At first it's like nothing, it doesn't look very exciting, and then it just gets better and better each layer we do. So I've got a medium green color, and I may add some turquoise to it, but I'm going to just go around the leaf only, and we have to keep it wet as we move around. So I'm going to start in the areas that don't have a lot of space. So I've got little small spaces right here. So I'm just going to put my layer right of green surrounding the leaf, and you'll see it pretty quickly. And the stem, I don't want to cover. I'm just going outside of my drawing, my drawn lines. And I'm going to do the same with this little section here. And this takes a little concentration, or I don't know, thought, because it's like we're doing like a sculpture, well, it's like sculpting. In sculpture, you start with a big block of something, and then you start to reduce it. And that's kind of what we're doing with this. So I'm just going to go along the side of I want to keep it light. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want too dark. I mean, I'm almost going too dark here. So I do remember that the colors will lighten. So I'm just going around my drawing. I don't want to go inside those leaves. At the very end, we have time to fill in the leaves later, or to make details and lines and stuff, but we're just going around the shapes. So when we get to large areas like this, you want to keep it wet. Keep it wet as you move around the page, and you don't want to jump around, because you want to keep working from the wet area and move your way out. So I should have mixed some more color here. There we go. And I'm just going to keep moving around. And I've got a large area here to go around because I don't have a lot of drawing. So that's fine. I'm just going to go. That's a pretty dark layer, but hopefully it'll lighten a little bit for me. I might just kind of lighten it up just a little bit, going around the leaf only, keeping it wet as I go. So I have to keep moving around the page. Otherwise you have little weird streaked spots. And then I'm going to join this part up with this. And you can vary your colors in here. You don't have to use one color. You can actually change up the colors. You can add anything you want that you just want to add to make this background interesting. It's not really the background. It's actually going to be the next layer of leaves is what this is going to be. So I'm just going to move this along. So this is my second layer. And if I want to spatter, I can spatter things right now. There we go. Oops, my second layer is not done yet. I'm still working around it. So now you see the shape, the general shape now of what we have. I can put some orange in this part here. You're like that. And I'll add a little more of that turquoise. I think that turquoise is so pretty. Right in here, maybe just put a little bit. But so this is a medium layer. It's a little darker than the first layer. And I might spatter it, or maybe let me just spatter this a little bit with some, maybe, who knows, let's see, some of that teal color. I haven't used this in a while. It's this really interesting teal color. It's sort of opaque, but I'm going to see how it will go on there. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, so I'm just spattering a little bit, not really on the dried leaves, but on the background. I just painted while it's still wet. I'm kind of just throwing some different color in there just to see what happens. And you can add color, different colors, just to make it, because it gives your second round of leaves more texture. That's all this is about. Okay, so I've got that. Now that's done. And then I'm going to dry this layer. So this is our first layer, so you can see the leaves. And first layer was the plain or the light, and then we have another one. And now I'm going to dry this. And then once that's dry, I'll be able to do a second drawing of leaves. And this is where it gets fun or interesting. And you can decide where you're going to place your leaves. And that's why the stencils are kind of handy, because you can kind of visualize, which I'll show you. I'll get some paper out and I'll show you how I would do this. I think the bigger leaves are going to be just as dramatic as the small ones, and it will take less time for us to complete for this session, but you can do these in any size, all different sizes, whatever you want, because it's all really fun to do. So I'm going to grab that paper I just sketched, and just for reference, see, I've got these 3 leaf shapes here that I already drew, and I'm going to just do, I'm going to cut them out, but I'm going to cut them out a little bit different in size. Like this, just a little different. This will just give me a place to figure out my design if I want. I'm going to go a little smaller than, I'm going to go a little smaller on this one too, like this. So I'm just making a really cheap stencil or tracing pattern or whatever we want to call it, because since we really can't trace because the paper is mounted to, it's, watercolor paper, so you can't really do that. There we go. But at least it gives me something to work with. And this isn't necessary, but I just want to show you why I'm doing this. You'll see in a moment why I'm doing this. All right, so there's my leaf pattern. So now I can just sort of visualize, where do I want the second layer? I'm going to figure out like, where, see, I do I want it this way or do I want it this way? This is all the fun part of this. So I think I want my second layer to kind of go from here. I want it to cross over somewhat though. I want it to kind of like there, like maybe like that. Yeah, I like that. So now I've got an idea of what I'm going to do next. I can follow it exactly, which I'll show you if I did. I would just trace around this way, but I'm not going to. My drawing is going to be hard to see unless I use white, and I think I'll just use white so you can see it. I hope you can. So here I'll just make my leaf going this way, and it's very difficult to see. I can see that it's going to be hard to see that, but I'll try to get it a little bit. And I'm going behind. I'm not crossing over this, the first layer. I am not crossing over at all. I'm going behind it. So here I'm going to bring, this one is going to go like that, here like this. I'm just going behind, not in front of it. And I'm going to bring my third one. I'm just visualizing it, and then I'm just going around like this. So I've just made 3 leaf shapes, but they're going behind. So imagine this is your drawing. You would just draw, behind. So don't draw over this. If you were tracing, you could trace it, but just don't trace over, don't draw any lines over your first layer. So now I've got that, and then I'm going to, I think I'm just going to do that only and show you the next step. So, but you can do leaves all over the place if you wanted to. This is just to show you this process. So now we're going to take another layer or some more color. And I think I want to do on this one kind of it's going to get darker and darker the more we do this. So I think I want to do a blue color just for fun. Try a little blue. And every layer is going to, you're going to make a new color when you put a new color on. So I've got some blue. It's kind of just some cobalt blue. And I guess that's cobalt. I don't know what that is. So now wherever the second drawing is, I have white, this little sketch right here. I'm not painting on that. I'm only painting behind it. So I'm going to go right now in right where this drawing is happening. And I'm just going to go outside of it, not inside. And I'm kind of a medium color. I'm not going too dark because each layer we do will make it deepen the whole thing anyway. So here I'm going to go, here's the leaf shape. I'm just going to go around. So you can see how that works. So now I'm not going to cover up my first layer because that's going to be my lightest layer. So that is, and I'm just going to go around with this blue color. And the blue is looking really pretty against that green underneath. If I want to spatter or make anything, interest, kind of to get more interest, I could do that too, but I think it's just fun doing the blue just to show you what it's doing. Now I'm going to go in this section here. There's no leaves. I'm just going to do that layer right over what I had done before. Because I don't have any leaves there, then I'm just going to go ahead and go right over it, which is deepening that layer. And keep your paints nice and moist. You don't want it too dry. And you can always just drop color in and make it kind of, different colors. Let's see if I can get that side done. Now that's wet into wet. So I may just add a little, I've got some ready kind of, I don't know if that's a purple, what that is. It's kind of a brown actually. I may just drop that in here and there because I'm doing some fall leaves. I'm going to go and cover this part. It was already just going around this leaf now. And then I have to, of course, continue that layer around everything that doesn't have the second layer of leaves. So there's that. And I'm going to go through here and get that part in here done. There's no leaves. I see that drawing is over here, but it's not back here. So I'm just going to cover that up while I see it. And in here, I see where my drawing is right there. And I might have to adjust a little bit. There it is. I can see a little white pencil. If you use graphite, you can use that too. But I just didn't think you could see the pencil lines. So I've kind of deepened it just by adding another layer. Not too much color, because otherwise you lose the luminous paper underneath if you go too dark. And so now I'm going to just go around this, and I'm going to use my bigger brush because this little brush takes that's good for detail, but sometimes for larger areas, it's not so good. I'm going to do a little turquoise in this part here. So I'm going to go around my drawing, my leaf my second layer of leaves that I did. And I'm going to just go ahead and fill that in. And I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to turn it so I can see it. And then just go around, and then that. So this is going to take a lot less time than the little small leaves will. But you still get a really dramatic look. And this is something that you do naturally in watercolor when you're doing, this is kind of a thing a practice that we need to do in watercolor anyway, just to get depth and dimension. So there is this one. So I'm just gonna, now you see that second layer, that second drawing is now behind the first. This is my first, second. So I'm going to let that, I got to have that dry, and then we'll do a third one, and then we'll detail. But then this is the process. So I'm just going to hit it with my dryer. I might put a little more, I think some of this pretty blue is going to go on the back right in here. It just needed a little something. Yeah, like that. And then just dry it. I like that. I like that little that spot that I made. It kind of makes it looks too tight. Everything is too clean. So I just really wanted to get a little more painterly look. Okay, so that is dry. This heat gun, by the way, is called the Heat It tool by Ranger, and I love it because it doesn't blow a lot of air, but boy, it blows warm. So now I have my leaves. Again, just show you, you don't have to do all three, but let's say I'm just going to tear one off, and you can flip it, do whatever you want, or you can just use 2 leaves, whatever. But this is just to show you the placement of the next layer. That's all I'm doing. You can draw it freehand. I'm just turning my picture upside down, and I'm going to decide where I want my next layer. And I think I want it right there, or I could move it here, or just however, I think just aesthetically, how, I'm trying to think of the way it would look the best. Maybe this way. Yeah, like that. See what I'm doing now, this is where the leaves are getting kind of they're not going to show, but they'll show that they're there. So now I'm turning it around. So I'm just going to look at it again, and I'm going to make and I'm going to use this time kind of like as a tracing, just to show you how I do this. I'm just going to go like this. It's not going to go, it's going behind that second layer. There's the one, and then this here, I'm just going here, and I'm not drawing, or I'm just drawing, taking up the drawing here. And then, so you could use your own stencils or just freehand, but I just wanted you to see that's how I place that. So I'm just going to make my branch here. And this one looks a little too thick, so I'm going to bring it in a little bit. And there, I hope you see that one. Yeah. Okay. So I've got 2 leaves there, and I don't know if I can erase this let's see what happens. I've never erased pastel chalk. Let's see if I can. Kind of. Oh, that's good. So this is called General's Pastel Chalk, and it's really good for doing, and I think if you're a sewer, you probably already have something like that. But anything that you can erase, that you can see the lines that you're drawing, is really helpful. So there, I'm just gonna do another layer, this time even deeper. And if I wanted to take, I'm just gonna do this so you can see. So back here, I'm gonna do a leaf kind of, let's see, somewhere in here. I want it to be here, there. So the same thing, I'm gonna take my little pencil, and I'm just gonna draw a leaf, but it's behind the other ones. There it is. And then like that. And then maybe I've got one here, that's there, and maybe one here. It's just out this part of the leaf, it's coming from out here. And I'm just kind of fill in the areas now, because this will be the last layer, I think. I'm not going to do anything here. I could do some stems or something though, but I could just do a shape like this, like a curved shape right here. And this, I think I'll do another branch coming out with a leaf kind of going out like that. So now you can kind of see I've added some more stuff, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add another, like a leaf curve of a leaf shape that's kind of going behind and the stem. And so that's just so you can see how much fun this is going to be filling in for our final layer. I also see I could probably add something here, right in here. I think I'm going to bring another branch down here and just go down a little bit with a smaller something, just kind of to fill in that space. So now I'm going to take my slightly smaller round brush, because I have a lot of detail, and I'm going to go the deepest I can possibly go without doing black. So I've got a really dark, like an indigo color here, and I may even add some dark purple to really deepen it. Really, really dark. Not black though. So now wherever my drawings are, and I'll start right here, I'm just going to go behind that last drawing I made. And I'm just gonna, and this will create, the more layers you make, the more interesting it is too. And this is just that going around that last drawing, and wherever I have my lines, I'm not going to cover them, just going to go around them. And same thing, I'll go around this one here. And then I'll just keep covering wherever there's no lines. I'll just go ahead and deepen this area all the more. Here's the drawing line here. I'll just go around it, and then I'll fill it in. So you can see how much depth happens, and how much how the layers start to look more interesting as we go darker. And this was not white, but it's really popping now. This first 3 are starting to really pop. So I'm going to just go in this little section here. I see my little drawing, small little, and they're really simple curved lines. I'm not really trying to make anything detailed or realistic, because these are layers of leaves. I'm just going to go right around that edge. And then same here, I'm just going to cover over my first layers, and it just gets deeper and deeper. And you can leave little areas light, or you can splatter stuff in it, whatever you want. And then we can go back with lights if it's just too much. We can always go back with lighter, some white if we want to, if we have areas that we feel are too dark. This area, so I'm going to turn this around. You can kind of see. I want just to make it easier to do the brush work, but I'm gonna take right in here is where it's dark, but I need to just go behind those leaves, that third set of leaves. And this, I put way too much water on that brush. So it's gonna take a while for that to dry. And I'm just gonna pick it up where I see that I need to go. And this is a very meditative process because really, once you've made your placement of your drawing, you're just filling in areas. You're not designing at this point. You're just playing with the watercolor. Just going to go back behind that. And so there, you can see the leaf is, that third layer is showing now underneath, especially when it dries. You'll see that more. And we'll just go one more. Well, these are little smaller sections. That's why I'm using a smaller brush. So I'm going to move along the piece. I'm going to go turn it around again so I can get to this part. And I see there's my drawings. My last drawing is right there. My last sketch. And then I see that I need to go behind this, make it darker. And then here also. So right now, this is, I'm actually just going behind the third layer. So we have 1, 2, 3, or these would, I guess that would be 4 layers, but whatever amount of layers you decide to do, this is how it just, you can keep going and going. But of course, your last layers are going to be your darkest, and at some point you won't be able to do any more drawing because you won't be able to see it, and your watercolors you won't see what's happening. So 3 to 4 layers is probably optimal for this. Or if you just go very subtle, if your layers are really subtle in change and value, then you can go more. So here, just gonna get that last right in here like that. So now you can see the shape of the leaves that I had done, behind there, like here. And I'm gonna go to these last leaves here. This is kind of almost like an early fall leaf instead of a late fall. And I'm just going the darkest, because this is my last layer, I am pretty dark, but I still want to retain some of the luminosity, so it isn't black. I actually never use black in watercolor. Never, never. You can achieve what looks like black just by layering keep layering, and eventually the light will stop coming through the paper and it will look like black, but it wouldn't look so harsh. This is my stem. I'm just going to bring it across. And I'm going to keep going. I see that I need to fill this part in. And when I was doing these earlier, the smaller ones, it did take quite a bit of time. This is an exercise in like patience and, just slow, just go slow, and it's not something you can do fast. This is not a quick, spontaneous type of technique. This is more mindful and a little bit something to just slow down with, and maybe put on some slow music when you're doing this, and then you'll get really calm, because it really is. And it will also help you with your control of your water control. It'll help with just eye-hand coordination. You do have to be kind of careful when you get to the edges of your, your drawings, so that you don't lose the definition. And it does help to have those little pencil lines. Some people do this without drawing at first. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And I guess it may be because they have lots of practice. It must be. And they just can visualize what they're, without having to sketch it first. But I'm not one of those people. So now I've got all of the layers. We've got 1, 2, 3. So really just 3 layers. But we did 4 washes. So now I can detail. This is something where you can take your, like a liner brush, if you have something really small, like something like this, you have a little small brush, you can take just some color. I think in this one it needs to be a green, or you can have a little, maybe some orange. Just kind of light. You don't want to make too much detail. And this has no green in it. How funny. All right, you're gonna learn to make your own green. Okay, so here I'm just gonna put I'm just gonna put some detail a little bit, like a line, not too dark, but just gonna go right where this leaf, right in the center, just to give it a little detail. And I could add a little of that orange if I wanted to just drop it in, just to kind of make it look more fall-like maybe. So I just did that while it was still wet. And then I could go really crazy and make veins, but I don't want to do that today. I think keep it simple, not overdo it, overthink it. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this line and just going to go up. If you feel more comfortable drawing that line first, please do that. But sometimes it's just let your hand go free. If you feel like you have the control to do that. But like I said, make a little sketch line is fine if you feel more comfortable. And I'm just putting some green. I'm just dropping some green into the line while it's wet, just to give it like a graduated effect. And now I'll do another one on this one. I'll just turn it around and make it a little easier. And I'm just going to bring it along like that. And this one needs a little more paint. This little liner brush is fabulous. It gets really tiny lines. It's called a Black Velvet Script #1 by Silver. And it's just a fabulous little liner brush if you want to get really fine lines. So I'm just going to add a little orange to that. And I'm kind of going to start doing the back ones, but this with a slightly darker color. I'm just going to go quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm just going to go behind just to get some detail a little bit. Like that. And you can add, like I said, add as much detail to your leaves as you want. And take your time doing that. Like you could even doodle in these, like if you wanted to do some Zentangle marks or any fun non-realistic marks, I think that would look great too. But I'm just kind of keeping it realish. Like that. And I think I got all my little lines, and I think I'll put one more right there, except this is going to have to be a lot darker, like that. So there. So that's the technique. Now what I do is after it's all done, it's going to look even better when I remove that tape. That changes everything. And this tape, I should have known, does not hold, it doesn't retain a sharp line like my washi tapes do, and I forgot about that. But if you have that, if that happens to you, and you have like these little artifacts and things, you can take, if it bothers you, you can take a little scraper, like once it's completely dry. You can, if it's a cotton paper, you can take a little X-Acto and just kind of scrape it off. But I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to leave it. So I'm going to put this one here so you could see the different ones. And the simple one is just as fun. I mean, it's the same exact technique I did with these here. And of course the circles were kind of fun, and then I added some sparkles to it. So I want to see how everybody's doing, and if you have any questions,